So I was thinking, how do we mark, honor, and remember 9/11 then and in the future? On September 11th, 2001, the first plane that hit the World Trade Center was Flight 11, and it immediately killed 92 people on board that flight. Then just a few minutes later, the second tower was hit by Flight 175, where it killed 65 people on board. In the towers themselves, it appears now that there was 2,595 people who perished when the towers fell, including those who worked there, were visiting, and those first responders that were coming to help. And then shortly later, Flight 77, carrying 64 people, were killed when it hit the Pentagon, within an hour after that first attack. And inside the Pentagon were 125 people who died, in addition to those on the plane. Then Flight 93, with 45 people on board, somehow turned around over Pennsylvania and was headed where? We don't really know. But Todd Beamer and others wrestled control of the aircraft back from the hijackers, yet the plane still crashed with no survivors near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, killing all 45 people on board. The total fatalities in these terrorist attacks were 2,986. That number sounds so impersonal now that we are 19 years older. So if you're able, I would highly recommend, and I think it would be good for you to go and visit the 9/11 Memorial and Museum in New York City, so that you can put faces on those first-person stories of families who still bear the scars of those precious loved ones who were so swiftly amputated from their souls. What's our future look like? Well, we can be sure of this. There is no escape. Every one of us at some point will die. Hebrews chapter 9 verse 27 tells us it is appointed for man to die once, and after that comes judgment. And there again in Psalm 103 verses 15 through 16 says, "As for man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower in the field, for when the wind passes over it, it is gone." On the way to death and paradise, Paul assures us that the believer will pass through many afflictions, through many tribulations. We must enter the kingdom of God, according to Acts chapter 14, verse 22. In fact, the whole world will pass through times that will be filled with what 9/11 only hinted at. Here's what Jesus says. "And when you hear of wars and tumults, do not be terrified. For these things must first take place, but the end will not be all at once. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes. In various places there will be famines and pestilences. And there will be terrors and great signs from heaven. But before all this, they will lay their hands on you and persecute you, and you will be brought before kings and governors for my name's sake. This will be your opportunity to bear witness. You will be delivered up even by parents and brothers and relatives and friends, and some of you they will put to death. You will be hated by all for my name's sake. But not a hair on your head will perish." That seems like a turn. So how do we honor those who died? The greatest tribute we can pay to those who have perished in the past, and specifically those from 9/11, is to hold that faith in God, knowing that not a hair on our heads will perish apart from God. Even if we are beheaded, and then use that utter security to risk our lives in service for people who are suffering or on the brink of eternal suffering. Romans 8:35 through 37 instructs us with this. "Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or danger or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are being killed all the day long, and we are regarded as sheep to be slaughtered. No, no. In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. This is a certainty that our personal 9/11 is coming. We will all face that time. And that for the faithful, not a hair on our heads will perish. Those who know they will certainly go through some type of terrible circumstance and come out of it in the presence of Christ should be the freest, most risk-taking, sacrificial lovers of humanity in all the world. It has been true and remains true. You joyfully accepted the plundering of your own property since you knew that you yourselves had a better possession and an abiding one. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 34. And it can be true again. Keep the faith. Remember and never forget. And feel free to contact me if you want to explore what this kind of spiritual security and freedom is and is like. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Hey, remember to like and subscribe, and ring that bell to receive notifications when I upload new content. Thanks.